Have you ever asked yourself, why am I still doing this at my age? If you're over 70, you've probably found yourself stuck in habits that once served a purpose, but no longer bring peace, value, or even comfort. And yet, so many older adults continue pushing themselves physically, socially, even emotionally, as if they're still trying to prove something. But the truth is, there comes a time when letting go is not only wise, it's essential. That time is now. In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 specific things that people over 70 simply don't need to do anymore. Not because you're giving up, but because you're growing up into a season of your life where peace matters more than pressure, and authenticity matters more than appearances. These are habits and mindsets that often linger long past their expiration date, quietly draining your energy and joy. But once you recognize them, you can finally let them go. Each of these 5 things is a small but powerful shift, one that might just help you reclaim your time, your dignity, and most of all, your freedom. So stay with me through the end, because you may be surprised by how liberating it can feel to stop doing the very things you once thought were necessary. Let's get started. Number 1. Forcing yourself to please everyone. Many people over 70 still carry the burden of making others happy, even at the cost of their own peace. And I want to tell you, from one seasoned soul to another, this is one of the heaviest and most unnecessary loads you can carry into your later years. It starts small. You say yes to a dinner you don't really want to attend. You keep quiet about something that bothers you because you don't want to make waves. You agree to watch the grandkids for the 3rd time that week. Even when your knee's aching, you just want a quiet day, you brush it off thinking it's the right thing to do. But over time, you begin to feel like your life isn't quite yours anymore. This desire to please often comes from a lifelong habit of placing others first, especially among people who grew up in an era where self-sacrifice was praised and self-care was misunderstood as selfish. But at this stage in life, those rules need revisiting. You've earned the right to be honest, to speak up for your needs, and to stop bending yourself in half just to keep the peace. People who truly care about you will understand. And those who don't, well, that tells you everything you need to know. There's an old saying I once heard from a friend in his 80s at some point. Your no becomes just as holy as your yes. And I never forgot that. Because when you start honoring your boundaries, you make room for deeper, more authentic relationships. The kind that don't rely on you stretching yourself thin. I knew a woman named Carol, 74 years old, who spent decades trying to be the glue that held her family together. Always hosting, always saying yes, always fixing every little thing. And one day she said to me, I woke up and realized I was exhausted. Not just tired, bone-deep exhausted. And not a single person had asked me how I was doing. That day she made a change. She started saying no when she meant no. And something amazing happened instead of falling apart. Her relationships became clearer. Some grew stronger. Some faded away. But in every case, she felt more alive. You don't need to feel guilty for putting yourself first at this stage in life. In fact, doing so often makes you more present, more available, and more genuinely loving in the moments you do choose to give. You've spent a lifetime giving. Now, it's time to receive a little grace for yourself. So, ask yourself this. When was the last time you did something simply because it was what you wanted? Not because someone expected it of you. If it's been a while, maybe it's time to start again. Not with guilt, not with apology, but with quiet confidence that says, I've lived long enough to know what matters, and I matter too. Number 2, trying to look young for everyone else. There comes a time when chasing youth becomes more exhausting than fulfilling. For many people, that time is after 70. And yet, we live in a world that keeps whispering or shouting that you must fight aging tooth and nail. The creams, the dyes, the surgeries, the filters, The pressure to look younger than you are doesn't magically disappear once you reach your 70s. In fact, for some, it only gets stronger. But here's the quiet truth intelligent older adults understand. Looking young isn't the same as being well. And it certainly doesn't guarantee happiness. Too often, the pursuit of a younger appearance turns into a fear-driven cycle. You wrinkle and rush to erase it. Your hair grays, and you panic over how others might perceive you. But instead of feeling better, you often feel more anxious because the real issue isn't the wrinkle or the hair. It's the internal belief that aging makes you somehow less valuable. That belief, it's not just false, it's harmful. Psychologically, this obsession with youth is rooted in a culture that glorifies appearances and undervalues experience. But as we grow older, we gain something youth cannot give: perspective. And when you constantly try to look young just to fit into society's expectations, you rob yourself of the dignity that naturally comes with age. Let's get practical here. There's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, dressing well, staying clean and sharp, looking your best, but that's very different from trying to erase the very years that shaped you. A man I met at a senior community center, 79 years old, told me this: "When I finally stopped dyeing my hair and covering every wrinkle, people started seeing me, not the version I was pretending to be, but me." And you know what? He said it was the most freeing moment of his life. The truth is, the people who love you really love you. They aren't drawn to your smooth skin or your thick hair. They're drawn to your spirit, your humor, the way you listen without judgment, the way you carry your pain and joy with quiet strength. That's what leaves a lasting impression. So instead of wasting precious time and energy fighting age, try embracing it. Let your face tell your story. Let your body reflect a life well lived. There's a kind of confidence that only comes from owning every year you've walked through. And that confidence, it can light up a room more than any anti-aging product ever could. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any video. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, pretending to be okay all the time. One of the harshest habits many seniors carry with them into their 70s and beyond is the belief that they always have to be strong, cheerful, and perfectly fine no matter what they're going through. It's almost like we've internalized a rule: don't complain, don't burden anyone, just smile and say you're okay. But here's the thing: pretending to be okay when you're not doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible, and worse, it can slowly eat away at your mental and emotional well-being. After 70, the reality is that life becomes more layered. There's grief, physical discomfort. Sometimes there's guilt about being a burden. And instead of expressing these feelings, many older adults push them deep down, thinking that silence equals strength. But in truth, silence can turn into isolation. You start to feel like no one understands you because you've spent years telling people there's nothing wrong. Stoic philosophy reminds us that being honest about our inner world is not weakness, it's wisdom. The ancient Stoics believed in recognizing pain without dramatizing it, and in speaking truth without shame. That means it's not only okay to say, "I'm having a tough day," or "I could use some company." It's necessary. You weren't put on this earth to suffer quietly. And you're not less dignified just because you admit you're hurting. Think about this. When you tell someone you're fine while carrying the weight of sadness or fear, you're not just hiding your struggle. You're also closing the door on connection. People around you, family, friends, even neighbors can't support you if they don't know you need it. And contrary to popular belief, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of emotional maturity. I once knew a woman named Helen, 82 years old, who spent decades never admitting when she was struggling. After her husband passed, she told everyone she was managing just fine. But behind closed doors, she was sinking. When she finally started opening up, sharing her grief in a support group, talking honestly with her daughter, something shifted. Her relationships deepened. Her laughter came back, and she no longer felt like she was living two separate lives. The truth is, the people who truly care about you would rather know what's really going on than hear another polite lie. They can't be there for a version of you that doesn't exist. They want to be there for you with all your scars, your fears, and your strength. So, if you're still trying to hold it all together, still saying, "I'm okay," when your heart says otherwise, it might be time to stop. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally wise enough to know that honesty is what leads to healing. And you deserve to be seen not just as a cheerful face, but as a full, complex, beautifully human being. Number 4, apologizing for living differently. At 70 and beyond, many seniors find themselves quietly apologizing for the way they choose to live. Whether it's refusing to attend noisy gatherings, needing more rest, eating dinner earlier, not keeping up with technology, or simply wanting peace over stimulation. They don't say sorry outright, but the tone is there. "I hope that's okay." "Sorry, I'm not much fun anymore." Or, "I know I'm being a burden." These small phrases reflect something deeper, a lingering pressure to live up to other people's expectations, even in our later years. But here's the truth. Why? Once you pass 70, you've earned the right to live life on your terms, not according to someone else's stopwatch or social calendar. The need to apologize for prioritizing comfort, boundaries, or personal rhythms has to stop. It doesn't make you more polite. It makes you smaller. And you weren't meant to shrink in your later years. You were meant to grow into your truest self. Stoicism teaches that we should align our lives with nature and reason, not the noise of society. That means understanding what brings peace, what nourishes the soul, and what drains it. If you'd rather read a book than attend a family cookout, that doesn't make you antisocial. It means you're wise enough to choose what feeds your spirit, and there's nothing to apologize for in that. This quiet habit of over-apologizing is rooted in something. Many older adults were raised to believe that your worth depends on how agreeable, accommodating, or self-sacrificing you are. But as you age, you begin to see the cost of that mindset: exhaustion, resentment, and disconnection from your own needs. You've spent years pleasing others. Now it's time to please your soul. I remember talking to a man named Gerald, 79, who stopped going to church events even though he felt pressured to keep showing up. He said he was tired, and he just wanted his Sundays to be quiet. But every time he skipped, he felt like he had to explain himself. One day, his daughter told him, "Dad, you don't owe anyone an excuse. If it brings you peace, it's the right choice." That conversation changed him. He stopped apologizing, and he started owning his new rhythm with pride instead of guilt. Older age brings clarity. You know what matters and what doesn't. You know which people give you energy and which ones quietly drain it. You know what foods agree with you, what music calms you, what pace of life actually feels good in your bones. So why apologize for honoring that wisdom? When you say sorry for being too quiet, too slow, or too different, you send yourself a message that your preferences are a problem. But they're not. They're the result of a life lived fully. A life that has earned the right to pause, reflect, and choose with intention. So, here's a gentle reminder. You don't need to justify your pace. You don't need to excuse your peace. You don't need to explain why you no longer do what others expect. Your life is not a performance. It's your sanctuary, and there's nothing wrong with protecting it. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 5. chasing everyone's approval. One of the hardest habits to let go of as we age is the need for approval. For many people, even after 70, there's still this quiet urge to be liked, accepted, or validated by others, family, neighbors, society. We find ourselves second-guessing decisions, softening our opinions, or pretending to agree with things we don't, all because we fear being judged, excluded, or seen as too much or too different. It's a trap we've been caught in since childhood, and it often follows us into our golden years. But here's the thing. Life after 70 is too short to be lived under someone else's expectation. Stoic wisdom teaches us to focus on what we can control, our own actions, thoughts, and values, not the opinions of others. Trying to manage how others see us is like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through no matter how tightly you grip it. And yet, so many older adults still carry the weight of approval seeking, even when it doesn't serve them anymore. They say yes when they want to say no. They stay quiet when their wisdom could offer clarity. They dress or behave a certain way, not because it feels right, but because it fits what others expect of someone their age. But the older we get, the clearer the truth becomes. Approval is a moving target. You will never please everyone. So why keep trying? Think of Evelyn, a woman I met at a community center in her early 80s. She loved colorful clothes and bold earrings, and she had a laugh that could fill a room. But for years, she toned herself down, wore beige, stayed quiet because her daughter told her to act her age. One day, Evelyn looked in the mirror and asked herself, "Whose life am I living?" That week, she started wearing her bright colors again. She said it made her feel like herself. Finally. You don't need permission to be yourself, especially not at this stage of life. The people who truly love you will never require you to shrink, pretend, or apologize for who you are. And the people who do, their approval isn't worth the price of your peace. Stoicism reminds us to act according to virtue, not applause. That means doing what's right, not what's popular. Speaking your truth, not what's convenient. Living with honesty, not performance. Approval is fleeting. Integrity is lasting. So the next time you feel the urge to please everyone, pause and ask, is this true to me? If it's not worth your time. You've earned your wisdom. You've walked through decades of life. You've loved, lost, survived, and grown. You don't need to keep chasing acceptance like a child trying to fit in. You belong to yourself, to your values, to your own unfolding life. Let the younger generations hustle for popularity. Let others worry about fitting in. You've graduated from that race, and what replaces it is something far better. Freedom. Because the day you stop needing approval is the day you start living in full color again. Bold, unapologetic, and true. That's the beauty of growing older. You finally get to be exactly who you are without explanation. Final thoughts. Isn't it strange how age reveals what really matters? When we were young, we were taught to strive, to do more, be more, achieve more. But as the years go by, we start to see with clearer eyes. We begin to understand that peace is more valuable than productivity, that connection is more meaningful than status, and that being true to yourself is the greatest freedom of all. And the truth is, much of what once seemed important no longer deserves space in your life. The things we covered in this video, pushing your body too far, chasing the approval of others, living by someone else's pace or rules, they're all weights we've been conditioned to carry. But after 70, those weights become unnecessary burdens. And letting them go doesn't mean giving up. It means finally stepping into your own wisdom. You've earned the right to slow down without apology. You've earned the right to say no without explanation. You've earned the right to rest, to choose what fills you up, to make peace with where you are and where you've been. There's a quiet kind of courage in simplifying your life, in trimming away the things that no longer serve your spirit. And maybe that's what aging well is really about. Not clinging to youth, not pretending to be who you were, but becoming deeply comfortable with who you are right now. Living with less noise, less pressure, more authenticity, more freedom. If you've ever felt guilty about slowing down or hesitant to make changes that feel right for you, I hope today's video gave you permission to breathe a little easier, because it's not just okay to stop doing certain things after 70. It's necessary. That's how you make space for the things that actually matter. A life of purpose doesn't have to be busy. A life of meaning doesn't need to be full of obligations. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is sit quietly in your own truths and know that you're enough not for what you produce or prove or earn, but simply because you are. So be kind to yourself, be honest, and above all, be free, because this stage of life isn't the end of your story. It's the most honest chapter yet. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.